in both baseball, softball, basketball as well, where their RPI is significantly higher than their position in the conference standings. The wins against Georgia this past weekend did them a world of good. Uh, they may not win the SEC tournament, and they could lose today and still get a host site. Obviously, they're looking to improve their resume as much as they can, but it's up to the committee. Whether when your RPI greatly exceeds your conference standing or vice versa, you got to ask yourself what the committee values more. And from committee to committee, sometimes that can change. So we'll keep you up to date. Alec Hilponen, who is coming in relief now. 3-3, runner at second base for Ole Miss, top of the seventh inning at the SEC tournament. The winner moves on to face Auburn tomorrow. LSU baseball last night with a 14-4 win against Northwestern State. Wasn't a whole lot to this one. Tigers had a 7-run third, including back-to-back-to-back home runs that made this a moot point. Northwestern, like Southeastern, not having one of their better seasons. Is a very, very good baseball program usually. This is just not a very good year for them. Highlights of the game for me, Thatcher Hurd settled in after his rocky beginning to the game, much like Blake Money did. It seems like Blake Money's got to give up a home run before he feels real comfortable. But I saw enough out of the two of them that I didn't think it was a terrible night for either one of them. They're going to have to look at Hurd in a more prominent position now. They're at that point. It doesn't mean he's got to start on Sundays. It just means that he's going to be ramped up even more. He came into the game on Friday night in what was a 3-run game and ended up closing it out in a 3-0 game. It felt like a tight spot, but not a tight spot, if that makes any sense. It was a save situation, but it's the easiest save situation you ever come into. A 3-run lead, nobody on to start an inning. That's the definition of the what do you call it, the room service save. But it felt a little bit dicier than that because of Hurd's, up and down season, and he performed very well. I think that right now, if on a Friday night LSU had a 1-run lead going into the 9th inning and they needed to go to their bullpen, Thatcher Hurd might be the guy. Money is a little bit more interesting because he has not pitched nearly as much, as much in what you would call tight situations. And so the question is, should he be? I'm not suggesting he should be a closer, but do you want to look at him maybe in the Sunday role? Somebody's got to start. They've got to move Christian Little out of that spot right now to get him right to where he can contribute. And as a starter right now, that's just not happening. So if you don't want to move Hurd, Coleman is only going to be limited for you. He's going to be an opener basically for you if you pitch him on Sundays, and I'm not opposed to that idea either. Somebody's got to pitch. You're willing to take a look at Money. He's got a lot of career starts. He was a Friday night starter here at one point. He's pitched fairly well of late. We'll see. The other thing that came out of last night's game, Hayden Travinski continues to swing a hot bat. He was 3 for 3 last night. Hit another ball out of the park. That's now 4 just in the last 2.5 weeks. So at catcher, this is an offense versus defense thing. Travinski swinging a hotter bat than Milazzo, though Milazzo is much, much better than he was in his previous time at LSU. This year he has become a much better hitter, but he's not the hitter that Travinski is. On the other hand, he is a very good defensive backstop, much better than Travinski. And I say all this with the backdrop of they may regain the services of Brady Neal at some point. For the moment, I think what I would do is keep that thunderstick in the lineup and bring Milazzo in if I've got a lead into the 6th inning back. But we'll see what Jay Johnson decides. 14-4, LSU won it last night. Jay Johnson on the win.
Good response performance and played really in character tonight. We got some free bases and had some extra base hits, obviously, with those home runs. Really proud of the pitching. All of them, had a little speed bump there and then overcame it and found their rhythm. And they don't have to be perfect. They just need to execute. And the 3 guys we rolled out there tonight executed really well.
Michael Bucknam was the third pitcher that finishes up another run rule for LSU. I think that's 13 now. This was also, Johnson, quick blurb on Thatcher Hurd's performance.
It was great to see another good outing for him. I think that's probably like 5 in a row, and it's one of our best pitchers. We knew that, and it just kind of took him getting settled. He's settled now and pitching really, really well.
All right, so tomorrow they meet with the media again. They'll have a chance to go back and digest this and decide what they're going to do about the pitching rotation on this weekend after Paul Skeens. Would imagine that Ty Floyd stays where he is. I even kicked around the idea in my head, putting somebody else in on Saturday and letting Floyd pitch on Sunday. I don't know if that makes things better or worse, but again, said this 2-3 weeks ago, and I maintain the same thing. You got to get 81 outs to get through an SEC weekend. I'm counting on Skeens for 21 of them. How they get the other 60 outs is up to the coaches, and I can't tell you that it's right or wrong. I also can't tell you, and this is what makes things really difficult, that it's going to be the same from week to week. That's the really tough part. It's like the old saying, right? What's the happy, well-adjusted life? Get a job that you like and get a bed that's comfortable to sleep in. Okay. That's 8 hours that you sleep, 8 hours that you work. What you do with the other 8 hours a day is up to you. Well, that's kind of where I'm at with LSU baseball. Skeens will get you the first 21 outs. How you get the other 60 outs with this offense is completely up to you. Other news this morning this just came across less than an hour ago. We had heard rumors that Foster Moreau might indeed be signing with the New Orleans Saints. That happened this morning. 3-year, $12 million contract, $8 million guaranteed, $3 million in incentives. His agent, Joe Lenta, told ESPN, I think this was told ESPN, ESPN, that Morrow has had positive results after his treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma and plans to play this season. Now, that's all it says right now. Morrow's 26 years old. He has the less common of the two types of lymphoma. This is Hodgkin's lymphoma, not non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I don't know. This is kind of vague as to when he might be available. This doesn't say anything about is he going to, the mini camp this weekend just to be present, I guess. Is there anything he can do? Is he going to be ready for training camp? Is he going to be ready at the beginning of the regular season? Is it going to be into the regular season? This is pretty vague, other than it says he plans to play this season. You got to think that the Saints knew this, or had a pretty good idea of this when they went into the draft. They had a couple opportunities to take a tight end where there was value on the board, and it certainly fit a need for New Orleans, and they chose not to do that. They also have not signed a veteran tight end in either free agency besides today. And we had gone through the list of guys that were still available out there. They didn't make a move on that after the draft. They did sign one rookie free agent. So I would imagine with all of those things in play that the Saints' confidence is high that they're going to have Foster Moreau for most of the season, if not all of the season. So, this is good news, even if it's incomplete news. We'll hear more about this maybe later today. First of all, this is great news. If Foster Moreau is healthy enough to sign a contract to think that he can play in the NFL this year, then how great is that? Because it wasn't that long ago that this 26-year-old found out that he has cancer. The idea that he would play this year really hadn't crossed my mind. After that diagnosis came out, it was just like, okay, go beat this thing and, live your life. And if you never play football again, thank God that they caught it in a routine physical while you were a free agent, and this didn't get out of hand. It didn't get, didn't spread before you could do something about it. Then, you start to think, okay, if you can beat it, when can you return to football? And in my head, it was best case scenario a year from now. You take a year off. So the signing of Foster Moreau by the Saints, if they've cleared him and they think that he's going to play this year, then the cancer diagnosis has got to be over the moon, and that's fantastic news. Now, let me speak to the football end of this. The Saints were looking for a tight end that does exactly what Foster Moreau does. First of all, you've got a very good inline blocker, and you've got a dependable receiver. They're looking for somebody who can make catches in traffic, okay? I don't expect Foster Moreau to be Jimmy Graham. Graham was probably the best tight end the Saints have ever had at making contested catches, but Jimmy Graham was 6'7". Okay, but Foster Moreau is a very dependable receiver. We saw him here at LSU. We saw him with the Raiders. He did a nice job there. Obviously, the quarterback knows him, and you've got that going for you too. So this is good news all the way around, even if we don't know everything about this yet. This is fantastic news for Foster Moreau and for the Saints. We also got some NFL scheduling news. Today, the schedule comes out tomorrow. What do we look for with the schedule? Okay, this is not like everybody knows I love to talk about scheduling. All right, the NFL scheduling is fantastic. Why? Because it's fair. It's nothing like the grossly unfair scheduling that is going on in the Southeastern Conference for the last, how long has the league been in existence? Forever. Okay, this scheduling is not slanted towards any one team like the scheduling in the Southeastern Conference is incredibly biased towards the University of Alabama and Tennessee, I guess, as well. But the NFL schedule is fair. There's only two things I look for when the NFL schedule comes out, and this will be released in its entirety tomorrow. Number one, that the Saints are home before they play their Thursday night game. And if they play more than one Thursday night game, playing a road game before a Thursday night game is troublesome for any number of logistical reasons. So that's the first thing I always look at. They're going to play the same opponents. We've known the opponents for a long time. They're going to rotate them. You may get a good draw. You may get a bad draw with your AFC division that you play, your NFC division that you play. But that's just how that goes, okay? It's going to be rotated. Some years you catch it, some years you don't. And when we look at it in May, teams that we think are going to be good might not be, and vice versa. So I look for the logistics of it. Thursday night game, I want a home game before that, so the team can get back, can go home, can rest, start on the short week without having to deal with the travel. The other thing is I don't want 3 road games in a row, and that rarely happens. So you just hope that you're not one of the teams that gets stuck with that. Other than that, I'm fine. Don't give me 3 road games in a row. Don't give me a road game before my Thursday night game. Whether that Thursday night game is home or road is a lot less relevant than the game before it, in my opinion. NFL's first ever Black Friday game, the Friday after Thanksgiving, will be the Jets and the Dolphins. The Giants and Eagles will play on Christmas Day. The Bengals and Chiefs will play. Giants and Eagles will play on Christmas Day. Bengals and Chiefs will play on New Year's Eve. And in yet another step towards moving them to London full time, the Jacksonville Jaguars will play 2 games across the pond. First time that has happened. LSU batting in the bottom of the 7th in a tie ball game. Homer here would walk it off, but the bases are empty with 1 down. Scott Rabelais when we come back. This is Hannytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
Big Mike's in Denham Springs, one of our favorite places to go. We're there Monday night. Always have a good time at Big Mike's. The live music coming up this weekend. The Honky Tonk Playboys on Friday and Kyle Wilson on Saturday. Here in May, you want to celebrate with your graduates, do it at Big Mike's. Multiple size party rooms and family friendly, so you can get the graduate in your life a nice celebration. They'll do the catering, of course, but if you want to have the event at your home or another place, they do off-site catering as well. Happy hour drink prices from 3 until 7, Monday through Friday, and on Sunday it starts at 11 a.m. and they go all day. 40 TVs in Big Mike, so you can watch the baseball, the basketball, the golf, the NASCAR. Your choice at Big Mike's. Monday night is all you can eat boiled shrimp. Home of the Denham Springs Hall of Fame. Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
what's up, y'all. It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hannytime, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Join me, Jimmy Otten, Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee, just off of Nicholson. Tuesday edition of Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Joining us right now, Scott Rabelais from The Advocate. Rab, how you doing?
Charles, I'm doing well. I'm monitoring the LSU women's golf regional on Golf Stat, just watching it through the numbers, and I've got the LSU softball game on my laptop here.
All right, we're watching the softball game too. How's the golf doing? Because I'm not watching that.
Golf looks like they will advance out of the Palm Beach Gardens regional. They were 8 back with like about 6 holes to play, and they just put on a huge rally. It looks like they're going to nip Arkansas by a stroke and advance to nationals. So looks that way, but there's been the scoring's a little hairy, Charlie. You know, it's college golf. like the PGA Tour or or something like that. It's not always precise.
Right, I got it. All right, so just to update, LSU has got the winning run at first base with 2 out in a 3-3 ball game. Bottom of the 7th inning. I said at the top of the show that their RPI is significantly higher than. It doesn't match. I say it's significantly higher. They're 6th in the country in the RPIs. They're 6th in the league in the standings. Okay, so it's one of those deals where what does the committee value more, the tournament, and now they're going to get the winning run into scoring position with a wild pitch. You never can tell, Rab, what the committee's going to value more, your conference record or your RPI when there's a discrepancy there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to put yourself at the mercy of the selection committee, right? I mean, the RPI is great, but we, as we saw with women's basketball, the net ranking in women's basketball didn't compute for LSU. They were and they wound up with a 3 seed. So I think the fact that they finished the 6th seed in the SEC will be a drag on them somewhat. But will they have a chance to host a regional? I think it's 16, 14 regionals, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I think they're in good shape to host.
No, they're going to host. It's if you put a run together in this thing, can you be a top 8? They're ahead of 4 teams in the RPIs that they're not ahead of in the standings. So again, we'll see what they value. All right, I wanted to ask you about yesterday. Denny Crum passed, the long-time 30-year coach at Louisville. And this is what's going to be the topic of our podcast. It's going to drop later on this afternoon. Is the battles that LSU had with him. You were there at what I believe was Reunion Arena at the time in Dallas for the Final Four, and the Purvis Ellison game is kind of what I call it. What do you remember about that game? Because LSU was in it for a while, and then Louisville kind of pulled away in the second half, which was the same thing that they did in the 1980 game where they beat LSU in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. I was a student at LSU at the time. I was working in the sports information department, 19 years old, and we had the first 2 rounds of the tournament at LSU. It was the last year that the men could play on their home court. And of course, they beat Purdue in double overtime. They beat Memphis State on Anthony Wilson's shot. They went to Atlanta, beat Georgia Tech in Atlanta in the Omni, another arena that doesn't exist anymore, and then beat Kentucky, of course, in the regional final after having lost to them 3 times earlier that season. And just looked like the magic would continue for a half. They led at the half, and then Purvis Ellison, who was a freshman center, and I'm pretty sure he went on to be the MVP of the Final Four, took over, and the clock struck midnight for LSU. But LSU had a run there where if they made it past the first round of the tournament, they lost to the NCAA, the eventual champion. They did with Indiana, happened twice with Indiana, and it happened twice with Louisville, happened with Michigan State. But it was just a thrill for me, just personally being there. I was, like I said, 19 years old. I had a seat on the press row at the Final Four because we're there. I was helping coordinate some of the media, availability and stuff like that, just helping along and just wide-eyed. And we stayed for the final when they beat Duke in the final, and it was really a cool experience. And you look back on those Louisville teams, and they were tremendous, and could have won in 1983 as well.
Easily.
The team that they had the semifinal with Houston, and everybody thought the winner of that game is definitely going to win the national championship. And, of course, NC State pulled off the massive upset against Houston 2 nights later. But, the guy was an excellent coach. He coached for Wooden, right? He was a Wooden assistant, I believe.
He played and coached for Wooden. In fact, that was, he left there in 71. And it took over at Louisville. So the very first year, he ends up in the Final Four in 72. And, of course, he's looking across at Wooden. When he won his first national title in 1980, they beat UCLA. Now, Wooden was no longer the coach. He had retired there. But, the story about how hard UCLA pursued Denny Crum when Wooden retired in 75 was certainly interesting because he was the obvious choice at that point. And, whether UCLA backed off or Crum gave them a hard no from the beginning, it kind of depends on who you ask. I was reading about that a little bit yesterday. But it would have been a pretty smart thing, don't you believe? Who in the world would have wanted to try to follow John Wooden? You talk about a no-win, and it was, I think, 6 coaches there before they won another national championship after Wooden's retirement. You got all the way into the 90s there. So
smart thing on Denny Crum's part. Yeah, probably so. It was like these are very difficult situations to be the man following the man. I mean, it was for Smoke Laval at LSU. It was better to be Paul Maneri. It will be for whoever follows Nick Saban. And I don't believe it's going to be Dabo Swinney, even though he played there, because I think for Crum which was true for Bertman. You remember, Charlie, if you're old enough like me to remember, people thought when Skip came here, well, when Ron Frazier retires at Miami, he'll go back. But when the time came, he built something that was his. He didn't have to just maintain something that belonged to somebody else or that had been built by somebody else. And I would imagine that factored into it for Denny Crum at Louisville. And by the way, Charlie, Louisville, of course, won the national title in 2013 under Rick Pitino, but that title was vacated, and because of that's what leaves Kim Mulkey now as the only person to win a national championship at 2 different schools in men's or women's basketball.
Aha! Oh, see, I saw how you kind of snuck that in there. You bring it back around to LSU women's basketball. I see what you did there.
Well, Charles, when you speak extemporaneously, as you have me do in these situations, you kind of got to look for your, the things that can work for you, because it's always a little bit like working without a net to me, because I don't have a backspace key when I talk to you.
Well, and they record everything, by the way. I'll tell you, it's like we have a number of LSU women's basketball mentions in the off season. It's almost like we're doing this every other day. There's something else with the women's basketball. It's all positive. Usually you get off season stuff. It's not always positive. No, LSU's pulling in high profile transfers, going to White House, NIL deals. Hey, look, if all the news is good, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah. I mean, so far so good. Like, and they're now with the transfer of Anissa Morrow, they're now the favorite to repeat as champions. I think they're installed by I know Caesars is what we use at the Advocate. So I got to say, Caesars says that they're the favorite. But it just seems like there seems to be just always a little bit of controversy, even if it's not of LSU's own doing. Like when it comes to women's basketball, like this whole thing with the White House visit with Joe Biden saying we're going to invite LSU and Iowa, which no one ever does, right? I mean, that's never done. And it's like it has to be the year LSU goes, right? That it has to be this thing, and it becomes a thing, and then they walk it back. And Iowa, of course, says, "Look, we don't belong there." The only time I can ever remember them having 2 teams there, Charlie, do you remember in 2003 they invited the LSU football team after winning the BCS title, and they invited USC, who won the AP national championship. And I believe President George W. Bush at the time said, "We got a lawn here. We got the Rose Garden. Let's have both teams here. Let's have a game."
And it was right. It was funny. It was
funny.
It was a good line. And Jill Biden made a statement kind of off the cuff, and it kind of got out of hand there for a minute. Cooler heads have prevailed. I do think it's interesting that Georgia's football team is not going to the White House now because of a scheduling conflict. This reminds me of when Nick Saban, when he was down with the Dolphins, the president wanted to meet with him, and he was like, "No, we got 7-on-7s today." And I thought at the time it was, he probably didn't think anything of it. I thought it was sort of disrespectful, and I say this with no political agenda at all. When you tell when the president of the United States says, "Hey, come and have dinner with me," you go have dinner with the president of the United States. That's just me.
Yeah.
But Saban had, he didn't turn it down for any political reasons. He's, "Oh man, we got football practice." That's what it sounds like today with Georgia. It's like, we got football practice. Okay. Well.
I don't know what the deal is. I don't think Georgia has been either year. I don't think they went last year either. No, it's not political affiliation. It's the office. You go if you're invited, no matter who's sitting behind that desk. You go because of the honor of it, and because you don't know when these things will will happen again. LSU just got out of the top of the eighth, by the way. They're going to the bottom of the eighth, still tied. So, so I'm glad this is finally going to work out. UConn's going to, the UConn men are going to as well. But Georgia, that's a bit curious. I don't know why they haven't gone. I can see if you went last year, maybe we're not going to go again this year. But back-to-back years, but they're not going. They haven't gone either.
You go every time you're invited. It's not like
Absolutely.
going down to the beach in Destin. Okay, you go when you're invited. That's just my opinion. Again, it doesn't matter who is in the office, but that's just me. I'm sure Georgia has football practice.
Is that a segue, Charlie? Is that a segue to leading you to something about the spring meeting in Destin?
No, I'm going to make fun of you about that in 2 weeks. Next week, I'm going to talk about the PGA. In the meantime, I'm going to give you an assignment since you're so into women's basketball. I want to know, okay, you go dig. You're looking for column ideas. I'll give you one. What is being done about getting an LSU versus Iowa non-conference game scheduled for next year? Because this just has to be done. I don't know where they play. I don't know when they play, but this has to be done. So get to work on that, will you? See if something's working behind the scenes to make that happen.
I've asked a question too, and it doesn't seem like there's any movement on it. But I mean, things can change. But I'll be glad to ask again.
Write a column, Rabs. Change some minds.
I think I did mention it, but I can mention it again, Charlie. I've got baseball columns for this week, and we have the SEC track championship as well at LSU, so we're going to be out there as well. It's going to be a full weekend. And by the way, I know it seems like obvious, but if you haven't seen Paul Skeens pitch, find a way to get a ticket Friday night's game at the box and go see him pitch. Yeah, they're going to pitch again. He'll pitch again in the regional. They're going to host a regional here, and if they win a super regional. But you're going to want to say you saw him play. We took my grandson, my 3-year-old grandson, to his first LSU baseball game last night, and I told my son-in-law, I said, at least one day you'll be able to tell him you saw Dylan Cruz play. One day he's going to want to know that. So that'll be a good thing.
I agree. I've been giving out that advice for a couple of months now. So well said, Rab. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Always a pleasure, Charlie. Thank you.
LSU coming to bat in the bottom of the 8th inning, tied at 3, trying to walk it off here against Ole Miss in the first game of the SEC tournament. First class, second class, no class. When we come back, this is Hannytime 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
Infinity of Baton Rouge, offering you cash for your vehicle right off the street. It takes less than 15 minutes to get a quote on your vehicle from Infinity, and at that point, you can sell your car for cash, you can trade in on another vehicle, or you can just walk with the information. There's no pressure to buy. You'll just be able to get that information from them in a very short period of time. Certified pre-owned program is second to none. That's why we've continued to buy there. 1 year's prepaid maintenance, the courtesy car when you bring your vehicle in for maintenance, and the roadside assistance is included in the price for your certified pre-owned program. That program means the car has been put through an inspection, back up to spec. So much so they're confident in this that there is a 100,000-mile powertrain warranty that is attached to it. They'll be able to match the make, the model, the mileage, and the pricing on it. It's a very relaxed buying atmosphere. It's why we continue to go back to Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Ford has $15,000 off, plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on all new 22 Ford F-150 SCA trucks, and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hannytime, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down the
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal.
On Thursday's OTB. Here from LSU head man Jay Johnson as baseball looks to bounce back in the box. Plus, how did LSU softball fare in the Open to their SEC tournament? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hannytime. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
Well, apparently I'm not the only one that has a hard time judging fly balls in softball on television. There are any number of shots that have come off the bat today that I thought for sure would be a hit, including that last one for LSU. 2 outs, nobody on, bottom of the 8th inning, still tied at 3, LSU and Ole Miss in the softball tournament. All right, first class. Let me start this one off with one of my absolute favorite Saints of all time, Ricky Jackson. I'm not sure there's anybody that's played for the Saints that I like more than Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson is 65 years old, and actually it was last week, went and received his degree from the University of Pittsburgh. How cool is that? Went back. It's been 40 years since he left as a draft pick of the New Orleans Saints and went on to a Hall of Fame career there, and decided he wanted to go back and get his degree. He was a couple of credits short and went back, and at 65, got his degree from the University of Pittsburgh. Good on Ricky Jackson. I wanted to also wrap up and give a first class out to Nikola Jokic and Matt Ashiba from the Phoenix Suns. Okay, you saw this earlier in the week. This is one of these things that gets completely blown out of proportion. Ball goes out of bounds. It goes right to the owner. He's holding it, and Joker goes to get it and, trigger the break because they got a player that's in the stands and he's going to be, 5-on-4. Well, the owner, Ashiba, who played basketball at Michigan State, was a walk-on, does what you normally do when you're holding something and somebody goes to grab it. You just naturally, it's a little reflex. You kind of flinch a little bit. And, he didn't, put the ball under his chair or anything. He didn't put it behind his back and try. He just kind of flinched a little bit. And Jokic, which would be normal, also flinched and bumped the guy. And because he's a foot taller and 100 pounds heavier, he pushed him back a little bit. And the world exploded. It's like, oh, how can you do this? Are you going to suspend him and all this? This was nothing. This was absolutely nothing. Joker's got to get a small fine for putting his hand on somebody in the stands, just because you got to have a zero tolerance policy on that, so we don't end up with another, malice at the palace kind of thing. But it was nothing. And yesterday, or the last 2 days really, they showed that it was nothing. Ishiba put out a statement before the NBA did and said, nobody should be fined, nobody should be suspended, nobody's hurt. And Joker, after practice, after the shoot-around yesterday, went and gave him a ball, and they had a laugh, did a little bro hug thing, and everything's fine. This is really how nothing incidents like this are supposed to go. You're not supposed to put them on TV in super slow motion and think, what was he trying to do in that 2-second interval where one guy's got the ball and the other guy gives him a little bit of a nudge? No, this is exactly the way that you handle something like this. You acknowledge it, you move on, and you don't make a big deal. So first class to those guys too. Second class, this is not a good with a chance to be great. I had to find somewhere to put this story because I wanted to get some feedback on it. Bo Jackson has the hiccups. That's not a story. Bo Jackson has had the hiccups since last July. That is kind of a story, right? There was a dedication at Auburn for Frank Thomas. There was a statue going up, and so they had a ceremony, and Bo Jackson couldn't go. And this week, he was at a golf tournament in Alabama playing, and they asked him, hey, what's going on, Bo? How you been? He says, well, I couldn't go to the Frank Thomas thing because I was at a doctor's office. I've been trying to get rid of the hiccups. Come again? I've been trying to get rid of the hiccups. I've had the hiccups since last July. Now, this is extremely rare, but it's not completely unheard of that you get a case of the hiccups that you can't get rid of. Bo Jackson's had the hiccups for 10 months. Now, sometimes goofy little topics on the radio just take off, but it's like, everybody's got a cure for the hiccups, right? If you get the hiccups, what's the longest, you guys, either one of you, what's the longest you ever had the hiccups?
Maybe like 3 days.
You've had the hiccups for 3 days?
Yeah.
Okay, the longest I've ever, and man, I shouldn't say this out loud. Jacob, what's the longest you ever had the hiccups?
Maybe an hour.
Okay. I can't ever remember having the hiccups for more than 10, 15 minutes in my life. But everybody's got a cure, right? So they start asking, what's your cure for the hiccups? Everybody immediately go drink some water, all right? Well, that doesn't work all the time.
You have to drink the water, so you bend over.
Yes.
And then you drink it like this, like I can't show you.
Out of the front, out of the far end of the cup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you do it so you're going to spill the water, okay? But yes,
works.
you bend over. It does. For me, it works. On the rare times that I've had the hiccup. Bo Jackson has done this, okay? Then there's the scare you. I know. How do you?
I don't get that one.
I don't get that one either. Okay, they scare. He says, Bo Jackson's got a sense of humor. He says, they have hung me upside down. They have given me the ass of a porcupine to smell, and nothing has worked. I think he was joking with the last one. I think he was. So he's going to have actually a surgical procedure to get rid of the hiccups. I mean, I guess it's outpatient or whatever. He's like, yeah, man, they're finally going to do this little procedure. They're going to get rid of my hiccups. So how do you get this guy? This guy is arguably the greatest athlete that's ever lived. He's in the conversation, okay? He's a Hall of Fame talent in multiple sports, and he's now had a degenerative hip that forced him to retire from the sport earlier than he ever should have had to. And now the man's had the hiccups for 10 months and can't get rid of them. Like I said, I don't know why I put that in second class. Send Bo Jackson your hiccup remedies. I mean, I'm sure he's had them before. But the poor guy has had the hiccups for almost a year now. Like I said, I don't know quite where to put that. No class. Tommy Cool is a golfer at Illinois. He's a very good golfer at the University of Illinois. He was third in the Big Ten championships that just recently completed. And Tommy Cool, like thousands of other golfers, headed out to try to qualify for the U.S. Open. He was at the Illini Country Club. He shot 62, which meant that he was advancing to the next round, was going to be one round away from advancing to the U.S. Open. However, before he was able to advance, Tommy Cool, I'm going to try to do this without great knowledge of golf horticulture, okay? They were playing on aerated greens at the Illini Country Club. In layman's terms, they punch holes in the golf course on the greens so that the turf grows back stronger, okay? Nobody likes it, messes up the green, makes it hard to putt, but they got to do it in order to keep the greens up. Rules of golf. 13.1C2 allows repair of almost all kinds of damage on a putting green. You can repair ball marks, you can repair shoe damage, you can repair indentation from a club or from a flagstick. You can even, if an animal goes on the green, gopher goes out on the green and makes a mark, you can repair all of that. But the actual marks that they make from trying to repair the green, you cannot repair. Apparently, nobody told Tommy Cool, who has been playing golf, I'm guessing if he's good enough to be the third best golfer in the Big Ten this year and shoot 62 in a U.S. Open qualifier, has probably been playing golf since he was old enough to hold a club. Did not notice this, nor did his playing partners, nor did anybody at the Illini Country Club or the USGA, for that matter, bother to tell all the players that the greens had been aerated. Tommy Cool deserves first class because he went and told them. Chances are he could have gotten away with this. Nobody had flagged it during the round, not his playing partners. Nobody had said anything about it in the pre-tournament or coming down the stretch where there were still golfers on the course. He found out about it. He turned himself in. First class. Guy just cost himself potentially a shot in the U.S. Open. My problem's with the USGA. How in the hell are you having a qualifier for the U.S. Open at a damaged golf course? What, there was nothing else in the area? How many golf courses we got in the state of Illinois? Certainly something around Chicago, maybe. I'm guessing that there's a golf course or two. The entire state of Illinois, you had to have this thing here, or you had to have these repairs right before you have the qualifier. Nobody says anything. You put this guy in a position of having to decide between doing the right thing, which is following the rules, or skirting around it, because this is what's called attention to detail. So no class to the USGA or whoever put this thing on for putting this guy in this position. Golf's got some strange rules, man. You got to sign your own scorecard, and if you screw up the math, you're disqualified. That's what he was disqualified for, He wasn't disqualified for fixing the greens because they didn't do that beforehand like they should have. No, he was disqualified for signing an incorrect scorecard. No class. What do we got? 2 on and 2 out for Ole Miss. First and second with 2 out in the top of the ninth inning extras at the SEC baseball tournament. We'll come back and wrap things up. Take your questions. This is Hannytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. You know what? If you're having a celebration for a graduate, you're cooking. Make that thing with Supreme Rice. Jambalaya, beans, etouffees, stews, even a gumbo for people that think there is no weather that you can't have gumbo in. I'm one of those people. Supreme Rice has been delighting their customers since the 1930s down in Crowley, Louisiana. So you're going to be supporting our Louisiana farmers when you buy the product. Any of your AG food stores, your Walmart neighborhood stores, your Rouse's, and anywhere you buy rice, make it Supreme Rice, whether it's the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine. Supreme Rice going to give you more bang for your buck. You're going to stretch your food dollar. More information and some great recipes, go to SupremeRice.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Turn my music high, 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 yeah. You don't know what you're doing. Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you can run the slalom. The cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clashing, chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like this Wall Street.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
So join me for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll answer the question: one game, Paul Skeens or Aaron Nola? What's the reaction to LSU and Northwestern State and Chris Demouy? Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Spoonful of sugar to get rid of the hiccups. Does that work? At this point, I think Bo Jackson's willing to try pretty much anything. So we'll see. Ask Hanny, LSU basketball roster significantly better or just better? I would say just better. And the reason I say that is I don't know who. It lacks a little star power. They are more balanced. They have more size. They certainly have better backcourt, but I don't know if they have a star. And I think in college basketball, you got to have that one alpha dog. And I assume that Jalen Cook is going to be their leading scorer next year. That's just a guess. And I don't know if he's a star in the Southeastern Conference. KJ Williams was a really good player last year. He wasn't a star. If your best player is not a star, there's a ceiling to how far you can go. So they're better, but I don't know if they have a star. They've got some potential stars, but I don't know if they have a star. Ask Candy, do you enjoy the dugout skits and dances in softball? I think they're funny for a little period of time. I can tell you that when you go to every game, okay, and for 15 years I was there for every game of a season, baseball or softball. there's a lot of downtime, man. There's a lot of time, especially with rain delays and stuff like that. There's a lot of downtime, so you find ways to pass the time. Ask Hanny, favorite shrimp dish. If I can have shrimp any way, probably a good boiled shrimp is about as good as you can do. But as far as Gump said, there's a lot of different ways that you can enjoy shrimp. They are in the bottom of the ninth now. Nobody on and one out for LSU. Tie ball game at 3 in the first game of the Southeastern Conference softball tournament. For Mario and Jake, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure, I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was